for international listeners or, honestly, a lot of Indians outside of Maharashtra,
Yes.
people don't even know where to begin learning about this story. The thing is, when you enter Maharashtra, everyone who's grown up here has some context about Shivrai. But the moment you leave it, that context seems to get a little lost. This episode is an attempt to rebuild that context on a national and hopefully international scale, which is why I honestly don't know where to begin the story. And I'm going to leave it to you. Where would you like to begin the actual story? Maybe pre-context, before his birth? Is that where you'd like to begin?
Yeah, so before I begin with the story, I would like to tell you that when I started writing the biography of Chhatrapati Shivaji or Shivrai, I thought exactly what you are thinking now. How to take Shivrai outside Maharashtra. So that was because there was no biography written on Chhatrapati Shivaji or Shivrai written by an Indian in English, So this was my attempt to put everything in that small book, The Challenging Destiny. So that was the intent. So I thought, how do I begin with that book? So I gave the perspective. I gave what was India 1,000 years before Shivrai was born. Then what was it 800 years before Shivrai was born? What was it before 500 years he was born? But when he was born as a son of a Jagirdar is a person who is a warrior whom a land is granted by the king or the sultan then. So when you grant a land, you are in charge of the cultivators. You collect the taxes from them and you maintain a cavalry force for the king. So in today's language, of your age people will understand, is that the fashion was to outsource the army. It was not directly under the king, you see. So the entire Indian structure was like that. The north was under the Mughal, 22 provinces. The Mughal Empire was the biggest, perhaps in the world that time. They had Mansabdars, the warriors to whom the land was granted. You will not believe that 80% of the Mughal Empire was granted land to the Mansabdars.
What is a Mansabdar?
Mansabdar is a warrior to whom the land is granted. He is supposed to look after the cultivators, because the only industry was agriculture industry then. So you collect the taxes from the cultivators and maintain the cavalry for the king.
Same as Jagirdar.
Same as Jagirdar. Okay. What was in the Deccan? There were 4 sultanates in the Deccan.
One second. Again, to give some geographical context, keeping modern day India in mind. So where would the Mughal Empire kind of end?
Madhya Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh.
The border of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra.
Gotcha. And then downwards from there, which is Maharashtra and the southern states.
Yeah, Maharashtra, there was Nizam Shahi. Then Karnataka, there was Adil Shahi. And Hyderabad, like Telangana and now what, you call Andhra. There was Qutub Shahi. So these Shahis ruled supreme that time, reigned supreme. And down there was Vijayanagar Empire of the Hindu kings, which was almost waning by the time Shivrai was born.
This is Tamil Nadu.
It was like Kanyakumari, very down south.
Okay.
I don't know geographically exactly unless I see the map. But Vijayanagara Empire still existed. But it had become very weak, you see.
Okay.
So this was the picture of India then. Yeah?
You can go on.
So
with one question I do have though.
Yeah, please tell me.
Is you even mentioned 1,000 years before Shivrai's birth.
Yeah.
Why do we need to go that far back?
So, I just mentioned in preface.
Okay.
In the book, because people have no idea who attacked us and how we lost battles and what was the mentality of our people and how servile we became in the process,
Maybe in this episode, it is important to highlight that mentality. Because I feel the purpose of history is to teach modern day human beings lessons so that history doesn't repeat itself. And honestly, if you look at the geopolitical perspective of the world, it is a dangerous environment for India right now. So whenever we are doing history episodes on the show, I love highlighting psychology of people, especially the people who were defeated. That's what
Yeah.
had happened.
So I wouldn't go deep into history, but in Kabul, we ruled. King Jaipal ruled then, and he was defeated by an invader from the Middle Asia. They had come from Afghan, and they had come from Afghan and beyond.
Uzbekistan. and
Uzbekistan,
those places.
Kazakhstan, they
Hmm.
had come. And now I don't want to name everybody. But when they came, we were secular in thinking. We were secular in thinking, and we were very forgiving. And we also had rivalries among ourselves. The kings, the Hindu kings in India. There were a lot of rivalry that, okay, if some invader is attacking my neighbor, it's good for me.
Hmm.
You see, that kind of mentality was very strong. So, and these people, those invaders, had better war tactics. Like we generally went on, elephant. We had elephant cavalry and howdahs, beautiful howdahs mounted on the elephants.
What is that?
Howdahs are the where you sit inside that structure, howdah,
Got it.
and you fight.
Like a
So-
chariot built on top of an
Top,
elephant.
like that, howdah.
Gotcha.
So we were their war tactics were they had horses and they were very agile and speed. They had speed.
You're talking about the invaders?
The invaders,
Hmm.
yeah, they had speed and they were ruthless, and they knew there is a lot of wealth in India, so they just came and looted us, and it went on for about 800 years.
Hmm.
And so then what happened is that a handful of them, invaders, I don't want to go into religion
Sure.
because I'll tell you, Genghis Khan was not a Muslim. He had another religion. So I won't go into religion.
Yeah.
But the invaders who came, and they were just handful. And we had a great population then, not so as big as now. But we still were, we could have outnumbered them. So why I said that I wanted to give the entire idea how servile, and we started thinking that we are secondary citizens. So we accepted whatever. And it was very brutal. Sometimes we were killed, massacred, and then our women and children were taken as potable property. And it was like the perks for their warriors, the invader warriors. And at one time, it was like any Hindu woman you take and just deprive another Hindu to produce progeny. It was also it's there in history all over. So we had become very servile and very we had lost our self-esteem, and we were thinking that yes, we are born to serve. That kind of mentality has slowly seeped in.
What time period are you
I'm talking about 11th or 12th century till Shivarai was born. That is 17th century. I'm talking about these. That's
500
large.
years.
Yes.
At least.
Yes.
So when Europe was going through its medieval times, in India this was happening.
Medieval, you can't say medieval times is 12th, 13th, 14th century, I think.
Okay.
But it went beyond that. Same thing, I'm not talking about Islamic invasions, but same thing happened with Portuguese in Goa. They converted that 15th or 16th century, they became so powerful that they brainwashed us so much that we forgot our religion, we forgot our festivals, we forgot how we dressed, we forgot our whatever lifestyle. We completely changed. They completely changed us. And if we did not change, and if we refused to change, they had torture chambers. And those torture chambers have been explicitly explained in Challenging Destiny. You see?
Are you comfortable talking about it right now?
I'm not comfortable because it was very brutal. Like, for example, they have even with their sharp instruments, they have even taken fetuses out of women who were pregnant. So that torture is just something which, when I studied, when I started writing about it, it upset me for months, you see. But it's all there in in my book, Challenging Destiny.
That was the video for today. Make sure you hit like, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your friends. TRS Clips will be back soon.